Mr. President, Dr. Gochukwago, Madam Vice President, Mrs. Comfort Obonna, the National Executive Committee members, distinguished council members, NNAUSA President Emeritus present, National Council Chairman Emeritus present, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the 68th Joint National Council meeting here in Dallas, 2026. Today we stand at the threshold of a new era, an era where our collective dreams, aspirations and determinations shall converge to shape a brighter future for the association if we strive to follow the rules of engagement, purposefully and conscientiously pursuing progress and sustainability. We gather not just as individuals, but as a force that can move mountains, calling a spade, and ensuring that NNAUSA becomes formidable and stand the test of time. However, complacency can be a silent killer, creeping in unnoticed and eroding the very foundations of success. It's easy to become comfortable, to stick with what we know and love, maintaining status quo. But that's exactly when we start to stagnate. The lack of accountability can lead to abuse of power, corruption, and unethical behavior that could be harmful to the association, organization. The functions of the council are evidently and explicitly defined, but members intentionally begin to jettison the council's responsibilities for personal whims and become complacent in their decisions under the auspices of euphemistic ways to justify their actions. Then something is fundamentally amiss. When council members begin to pop up champagne or resort to celebrating nothingness for simply not forming a two-thirds majority for an emergency meeting, then something is seriously adrift because, in my opinion, it's likened to an Igbo proverbial word. The call for an emergency meeting is constitutionally required to address matters of urgent need in conformity with the rules and standards. This is not about me, but about the nucleus of the body of the council generally. Quoting the great Aristotle, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. A people who know and respect themselves set the template how they are treated, because self-respect is not a request but a standard. Going down memory lane, I pledged to uphold the principles of fairness, integrity, and democratic governance. Also a commitment to transparency and accountability. Looking around, I can state without equivocation that I have not veered off, but consistent with pursuing what my vision for the council should be, as evidence in all my writings, right from the first day I began the contest of becoming the chairman of the council till date. I have not changed because I don't wobble, neither do I quibble or flip-flop. I have repeatedly reiterated, and sincerely so, that I don't begrudge the president, Dr. Agha, as being painted out there, or those who have different opinions, political opinions, or ideology. But I stand firm, fight for, and defend what I believe is right and just, as I have always done in my entire life. All I ask of the president is to do things the right way, in line with the Constitution, and reach out to the council through me. But cutting corners, or using process, choosing to say one thing and doing a different thing behind the scene, creates a negative impression and mistrust. The repeated lies being spread by my traducers suggesting that I'm bent on decapping the president, or the situation that the council refuses to act in an emergency situation is ridiculous. Even when there is some overwhelming evidence that the above first work repairs already commenced before the council's meeting of November 14, 2025. Also, this weird paradigm of picking and choosing how to interpret the Constitution, the ridiculousness and misogynistic insults against the council chairman and other dissenting voices when issues of accountability and transparency, responsibility and probability are demanded seems to be becoming acceptable, but it should be consulted to every rational person. Meanwhile, the other committee that was consulted and approved by the council to look into the financial records of 2024 and all other immediate financial transactions prior are expected to present their report at this joint council plenary session today. So in a short while, we hear from them. Furthermore, a laptop the council executive requested from the president to replace the previous non-working laptop the council had been delivered to the council clerk, who will use it for the council's work. All the council's documents, minutes, and other correspondence shall be handed on request and for easy references. For the records, the chairman of the council is not answerable to the president, but to the council, comprising of all the 40 chapter representatives. However, he is required by law to work with the president for the benefit of the organization. Seeing something and saying something is fundamental, but keeping silent in an obvious obfuscation of facts is tantamount to complacency, especially at this age of information explosion, AI, and the distortions. Voicing our concerns and opinions becomes essential because at the fullness of time, posterity shall judge. So I'm calling on all the rational minds and the good council members to please address matters objectively and stop this deafening silence when issues of council arises, more so at this critical moment of the council's crossroads. Let's not forget, our actions or inactions today will be the determining factor for what shall be tomorrow. When the time day-to-day activity is now used as a hill to justify members' actions of giving the president a blank check to spend the association's money as he deems fit, even in an emergency situation. Without records of the council, just let him inform the council the amount he spent thereafter calls for reflection. Again, this new contraption, day-to-day activity, without a predicate, deliberately extracted out of Article 7, Section 1, Number 6 of the NNAUSA Constitution, that states, at the written request of the National Executive, the National Council shall appropriate discretionary funds to the National Executive Committee for the day-to-day running of the affairs of the NNAUSA. Such discretionary from funds shall be reflected on NNAUSA's financial report and audits. Unquote. Tell me, was this word invented in the Constitution, or has it been there in the previous administrations? I ask again, was this Article 7 not in the Constitution and the Council in the past temporarily freezed the association's account when they demanded for answers? Note, I'm neither casting nor probing previous decisions, but only appealing to their consciences, not to forget so soon, and not to blind their minds to reality. When precedents are set, it most often bounces back to haunt or hurt because history futuristically has a way of repeating itself. If not carefully harnessed, truly this convoluted method of interpreting the Constitution now is very troubling. And if this trajectory subsists, I will make bold to state, let's brace ourselves up for the inevitable future consequences. The myth of eternal success. We've all had companies that once dominated their industries, only to be brought down by their own complacency. Remember Blockbuster? They were the kings of video rentals, but they failed to adapt to the streaming revolution. The result? Bankruptcy. Kodak, photography giants ignored digital camera revolution. The result? Failure. How about Nokia? Mobile phone gurus. The company underestimated the smartphone market, and the consequence? Your guess is as good as mine. Some may ask, or to any rational person, the wisdom in continuously spending NNAUSA's money in a house we can't or aren't using it conducting NNAUSA's own businesses, businesses. If the government of NNAUSA don't see the need or deem it necessary to utilize Unity Hub property to conduct their own businesses, who will? The dangers of rotating. Of course, when everyone agrees at all the time, it often means that it's often a sign that no one is taking it critically. Complacency can lead to a future in a culture of group-taking, where dissenting voices are silenced and important questions go unasked. When people are calling on other chapter members to vote no against convening an emergency meeting, some even gesturing when votes had already been called off several days prior. Others applauding the subordination, while some injected gender and sexism to show their disdain. The question remains, what are all these about? Seriously, let's put aside the semantics and the nomenclature. My point here is that once the council ignores the ethical standards, chooses infighting, and abjure their responsibility, their position and their responsibilities, regaining their respect, or expected to be taken seriously by the executive will be a mirage. And the consequence or consequences to the association will be there. The circumstances have changed, and with them, our perspective must evolve. The other of the council, having an implicit account, wants to make its own position. Now the president should step forward. Think about it for a moment. The so-called board of directors cannot seem to do their oversight job that requires commitment, purpose, and unable to send somebody to do a specific assignment or confection of salts that may require transport money. Also, if this board of directors cannot have a hotel room or rooms from the executives, okay, as the executives out of their room center, out of the many complimentary rooms, usually given to NNAUSA during convention that are the president's discretion, then the name or applicable concept of board of directors is a ruse. Don't give up the reasoning. Don't give me the reasoning that because local chapters take care of the representatives, therefore council should not get any benefit, forgetting that the strength of the association is local chapter based. If you officially accommodate, if you officialize accommodating the council executives, as the case with the 7 or 8 executive committee members, without incurring any other debt, any additional cost of the association, you have relieved the local chapters some stress, thereby making them more energetic In the words of Professor Chino Achebe, a man who calls his kinsmen to feast does not do so to redeem them from starving, because they all have food in their own houses. Since the council election cycle is 2 years, if we implement this plan, the council will be saving money for the local chapters inadvertently. Mind you, any favors from any president is a bet for reciprocation. So why not make it official and avoid unnecessary reciprocal pressure? In the words of Miyamoto Musashi, it may seem difficult at first, but all things are difficult at first. Please, don't mistake my intent here as personal, but look at the contents. I'm only asking you to objectively look at the issues, evaluate and evolve. If NOAA can be given a grant for whatever reason or purposes, why not the council themselves to have something to work with? All the decisions of the council fall by the wayside and not implemented because they don't have the wherewithal to do anything. For example, the council passed a resolution to honor a whistleblower who made it possible for the council to recover $1,500 for NNAUSA that was initially declared on paper but was not seen in the actual until a check emanated from a local chapter to assuage the situation. It's a known fact worldwide that a good takatakatu, using our own expression, is intelligence that's highly permissible and appreciated. Permit me to submit the words of Jim Rohn. Everyone must choose one of the two pains, the pain discipline or the pain of regret. Ladies and gentlemen, the pain discipline is invaluable. The importance of checks and balances. Accountability is key to preventing complacency. We need a functional system that encourages questioning, probing, and challenging assumptions. This means fostering a culture where mistakes are seen as opportunities for growth, not reasons to assign blame. Although I'm working under strenuous circumstances, coastal and difficult circumstances, I still will not be deterred or compromised from helping the council achieve independence, seeking accountability, transparency, and enforcing compliance. Let's be mindful. A situation where any dissenting voice or opinion is regarded as a threat or as an enemy combatant is a red flag. When elected members are threatened and lackeys are being positioned to replace the perceived enemies, should be very concerning to every member, because NNAUSA cannot afford a Trumpian style of government leadership. Breaking the circle. So how do we avoid complacency? By doing what is right and just, and not what we think will be beneficial to ourselves or to a person or persons of interest. It's really time to wake up, because whatever facades that we brought into the reading that led us to believe in any concocted alternative reality, that facade should be expunged. Let's encourage dissenting voices, seek out opposing viewpoints, and engage with them thoughtfully, because the alternative is stagnation. Time to turn around. Brothers and sisters, let's choose to adapt, evolve, and make a difference by putting aside partisan interests and work towards a common goal. Time to rethink. God bless us all.